Good and evil are set in contrast, and good fortune and misfortune will naturally become evident. It serves to admonish people against doing evil and encourage them to do good deeds. It is said that outside the east gate of Wuxi County, Changzhou Prefecture in the Jiangnan region, there was a small household. There were 3 brothers in the family. The eldest was named Lu Yu, the second was named Lu Bao, and the third was named Lu Zhen. Lu Yu was married to a woman surnamed Wang, and Lu Bao was married to a woman surnamed Yang. Both of their wives were of great beauty. Lu Zhen was still young and unmarried. Wang gave birth to a son whose nickname was 11er. When he was only 6 years old, he went out with the children of the neighbors to watch a religious procession and did not return at night. The husband and wife were very worried. They posted a notice and searched the neighborhood for several days, but there was no news at all. Feeling frustrated, Lu Yu couldn't sit at home any longer. He borrowed a few taels of silver as capital from a wealthy family and went all the way to Taiqing and Jiading to purchase some cotton and cloth. Then he sold these goods in various places and also took the opportunity to inquire about the news of his son. Every year, he would leave home in the 1st or 2nd lunar month and return home in the 8th or 9th lunar month to collect new goods. After 4 years of doing this, although he made some profits, it was obvious that there was no hope of finding his son. As time passed, he gradually became less concerned, and this was no longer a matter of great importance. In the 5th year, Lu Yu bid farewell to Wang and went to do business again. Unexpectedly, on the way, he met a cloth merchant with a large capital. During their conversation, the merchant learned that Lu Yu was proficient in business. So the merchant invited him to go to Shangzi together to sell their goods, and then they would bring back woolen goods to sell, with some commission as a reward. Lu Yu, driven by the greed for petty profits, went along with him. After arriving in Shangzi and selling their goods, they encountered successive years of famine. It was difficult to collect the accounts on credit, and Lu Yu couldn't leave. Being a young man who had been away from his wife for a long time, Lu Yu couldn't help but visit the brothels once or twice. As a result, he contracted a venereal disease. He took medicine to treat it, but he felt too ashamed to go home. It took 3 years for the disease to be cured, and only then did he settle all the accounts. Because the cloth merchant had delayed Lu Yu's return, he rewarded Lu Yu doubly. After getting some benefits, Lu Yu couldn't wait for the cloth merchant to finish collecting the goods. He bought some fine and coarse woolen fabrics on his own and said goodbye and set off on his way back. One morning, when he arrived in the Shenliu area, he happened to go to the latrine. He saw a dark blue cloth shoulder bag left on the latrine board. He picked it up and found it was quite heavy. He took it back to his accommodation and opened it. Inside were all silver items, about 200 taels in total. Lu Yu thought to himself, although there is no harm in taking this unexpected wealth, if the owner can't find it, he will be very disappointed. In ancient times, people refused to take the gold they found and returned the lost bag with its contents intact. I'm already over 30 years old and still have no son. What's the use of this ill-gotten wealth? So he quickly went to the vicinity of the latrine to wait, hoping that someone would come to look for it so that he could return the bag to its owner. He waited for a whole day, but no one came. The next day, he had to continue his journey. After traveling another 300 to 500 li, he arrived in the Nansishu area. It was getting late that day, so he checked into an inn. There he met another guest who was also staying there, and they casually talked about business matters in the business world. The guest said that he had been careless. 5 days ago, in the early morning, when he went to relieve himself at the latrine in Shenliu County, he untied his shoulder bag. Suddenly, an official passed by on the street. In a hurry, he got up and forgot to take the shoulder bag, which contained 200 taels of silver. It wasn't until he took off his clothes to go to bed at night that he remembered it. Thinking that a whole day had passed and someone must have picked it up, it was useless to go back and look for it, so he had to accept his bad luck. Lu Yu then asked, "May I ask your honorable surname, sir? Where do you live?" The guest replied, "My surname is Chen. My ancestral home is Huizhu, and now I run a grain store at the Yangzhou sluice. May I ask your honorable surname, sir?" Lu Yu said, "My surname is Lu. I'm from Wuxi County, Changzhou Prefecture. Yangzhou is also on my way." I will accompany you there and pay you a visit. The guest didn't know the details and replied, "It would be great if you could do so." The next morning, the two of them set off together. Before long, they arrived at the Yangzhou sluice. Lu Yu also went to the Chen family's store. He entered the main hall and bowed. Mr. Chen invited him to sit down and served him tea. Lu Yu first brought up the matter of the lost silver in Shenliu County and asked about the appearance of the shoulder bag. Mr. Chen said it was a dark blue cloth bag, and there was a white thread embroidered with the character Chen at one end. Lu Yu understood and said, "I picked up a shoulder bag in Shenliu before, and it seems to be similar. Let me show it to you for identification." When Mr. Chen saw the shoulder bag, he said, "This is it." The silver in the shoulder bag was still in its original state. Lu Yu handed the shoulder bag back to Mr. Chen with both hands. Mr. Chen felt obliged and wanted to divide the silver equally with Lu Yu, but Lu Yu refused. Mr. Chen said, "Even if we don't divide it equally, you should still accept a few taels as a token of my gratitude so that I can feel at ease." But Lu Yu firmly refused to accept it. Mr. Chen was extremely grateful and quickly arranged a meal to entertain him. He thought, "It's really rare to meet such a kind person as Lu Yu. I have no way to repay his kindness of returning the money. I have a daughter who is 12 years old. I want to establish a marital relationship with Mr. Lu's family. But I don't know if he has a son." During the meal, Mr. Chen asked, "Dear brother, how old is your son?" Lu Yu couldn't help but shed tears and replied, "I only have one son. 7 years ago, he got lost while watching the religious procession and I still haven't found him. My wife hasn't given birth to any other children either. When I go back this time, I plan to adopt an adopted son to help with the business, but it's really hard to find such a suitable one." Mr. Chen said, "A few years ago, I spent 3 or 2 taels of silver to buy a young servant. He is quite handsome and clever. He was brought here by someone from another place. Now he is 13 years old and is studying in the school with my son. If you like him, I will give him to you to serve you as a small token of my respect." Lu Yu said, "If you are willing to part with him, I will pay you back his purchase price." Mr. Chen said, "What are you talking about? I'm just afraid that you won't want him. If so, I will feel embarrassed." Immediately, he asked the store manager to call 11 from the school. When Lu Yu heard the name, which was the same as his son's, he was filled with suspicion. Soon, the young servant was brought in. He was wearing a Taoist robe made of wuhu blue cloth. He was indeed very handsome. Accustomed to the rules of the school, he bowed deeply to Lu Yu when he saw him. Lu Yu immediately felt delighted. He looked carefully and recognized his son's face. When his son was 4 years old, he fell and injured the corner of his left eyebrow, leaving a small scar. With this mark as a clue, Lu Yu asked, "When did you come to the Chen family?" The young servant thought for a while and said, "It's been 6 or 7 years." Lu Yu asked him again, "Where are you originally from? Who sold you here?" The young servant said, "I'm not very sure. I only remember that my father is called Luda, and I have 2 uncles at home. My mother's surname is Wang, and our home is outside Wuxi City. When I was young, I was tricked out and sold here." After hearing this, Lu Yu held the young servant in his arms and exclaimed, "My dear son. I am Luda from Wuxi. I'm your real father. I've lost you for 7 years. Who would have thought we would meet here?" It was truly. The needle fished out from the bottom of the water has been found, and the lost treasure in the palm has been reunited. They hugged each other eagerly at the banquet and recognized each other, still fearing that this was all a dream. Tears streamed down the young servant's eyes. Lu Yu was, needless to say, deeply moved. Lu Yu stood up and bowed to thank Mr. Chen, saying, "If it hadn't been for your kind acceptance of my son in your household, how could we, father and son, be reunited today?" Mr. Chen said, "Dear brother, you possess the great virtue of returning the money. Heaven has sent you to my humble abode, allowing for the reunion of you and your son. I was completely unaware that he was your son all along, and I deeply regret my previous neglect." Lu Yu then asked 11 to bow and thank Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen insisted on returning the bow, but Lu Yu wouldn't allow it. He held Mr. Chen back several times, and Mr. Chen finally received 2 bows of gratitude. Then, 11er was invited to sit beside Lu Yu. Mr. Chen said, "Thanks to your affection, dear brother. I have a daughter who is 12 years old, and I wish to arrange a marriage between her and your son." Lu Yu saw the sincerity in his words and, unable to decline further, had to agree. That night, the father and son slept on the same bed and talked throughout the night. The next day, when Lu Yu was about to take his leave, Mr. Chen asked him to stay and arranged a grand feast to entertain the new in-laws and the new son-in-law as a farewell gesture. After several rounds of wine, Mr. Chen took out 20 taels of silver and said to Lu Yu, "My son-in-law has been staying in my home, and I'm sorry for not treating him as well as I should have. Now I offer this small gift as compensation, to express our family bond. Please don't refuse it." Lu Yu said, "It's truly kind of your esteemed family to condescend to this marriage. My family should have presented the betrothal gifts. But since we're on a journey, it's not appropriate to be hasty. How could I instead accept your generous gift? I really dare not do so." Mr. Chen said, "This is a gift from me to my son-in-law, and it has nothing to do with you, my dear brother-in-law. If you refuse it, it means you don't approve of this marriage." Having no other option, Lu Yu had to accept it and asked his son to stand up and express his gratitude. Mr. Chen helped him up and said, "It's just a small gift. There's no need to thank me." 11er then went in to thank his mother-in-law. They had a joyous and hearty meal that day and didn't disperse until late at night. Lu Yu thought to himself, "Thanks to the opportunity of returning the money, I was able to meet my son again. This is truly the will of heaven. And arranging this wonderful marriage is like adding flowers to brocade. I have no way to repay heaven and earth." The 20 taels of silver given by Mr. Chen, my in-law, is also unexpected wealth. Why not choose a clean Buddhist temple, buy rice, and offer it to the monks to accumulate good fortune? With this decision in mind. The next morning, Mr. Chen prepared breakfast once again. After Lu Yu and his son finished eating, they packed their luggage, expressed their thanks, and bid farewell. They hired a small boat and rowed out of the sluice. After traveling about several li, they heard a great commotion by the riverside. It turned out that a passenger boat had capsized. Those who had fallen into the water were crying out for help, and the people on the riverbank were calling for small boats to carry out the rescue. The small boats were demanding rewards, and there was an argument going on. Lu Yu thought, saving a life is more meritorious than building a 7-story pagoda. Just as I was planning to offer food to the monks, why not use these 20 taels of silver as a reward and ask them to carry out the rescue? This is an immediate act of virtue. He immediately said to the crowd, "I'll offer a reward. Hurry up and rescue them. If you save everyone on the boat, I'll give you 20 taels of silver." When the people heard about the reward of 20 taels of silver, small boats came swarming like ants. Even some of the people on the riverbank who could swim jumped into the water to help with the rescue. In an instant, everyone on the boat was saved. Lu Yu distributed the silver among the people who had participated in the rescue. Those who had been saved in the water expressed their heartfelt gratitude. Suddenly, one of the people looked at Lu Yu and shouted, "Brother, where did you come from?" Lu Yu looked and saw that it was none other than his third younger brother, Lu Zhen. Lu Yu put his hands together and said, "I'm truly grateful. Heaven has sent me to save my brother's life." He quickly helped his brother onto the boat and gave him dry clothes to change into. Lu Zhen bowed his head deeply in gratitude, and Lu Yu returned the gesture. He then introduced his nephew to his uncle and recounted the story of how he had returned the money and met his son. Lu Zhen was extremely astonished. Lu Yu asked, "Why are you here?" Lu Zhen said, "It's a long story. Since you left home, you've been gone for 3 years. Some people spread the rumor that you had died of a venereal disease in Shaanxi. Second brother verified the truth of it, and sister-in-law has already put on mourning clothes. But I just couldn't believe it. Recently, second brother has been trying to force sister-in-law to remarry, and she refused. That's why I was sent to Shaanxi in person to inquire about your news. I didn't expect to meet you here. Moreover, I almost drowned, but you saved me. This is truly a blessing from heaven. Brother, you mustn't delay. Hurry home as soon as possible to reassure sister-in-law. If it's too late, something bad might happen." Upon hearing this, Lu Yu was alarmed and quickly asked the boatman to set sail and hurry home day and night. Indeed, his heart was as anxious as an arrow, feeling that the boat was moving too slowly. Even though the boat was traveling as fast as a shuttle, he still thought it was too late. Let's talk about Wang again. When she heard the tragic news about her husband, at first she was skeptical. But Lu Bao described it so vividly that she believed it and had no choice but to change into some plain clothes. Lu Bao had malicious intentions. Thinking that his elder brother was dead, his sister-in-law had no children, and she was still young, he wanted to persuade her to remarry so that he could obtain some betrothal gifts. He asked his wife, Yang, to talk to his sister-in-law, but Wang firmly refused. With Lu Zhen's constant admonition and obstruction day and night, his plan didn't succeed. Wang thought, 1,000 rumors are not as good as seeing with one's own eyes. Although it's said that my husband is dead, he's thousands of miles away, and I don't know the truth for sure. She begged her younger brother-in-law, Lu Zhen, to go to Shangzi in person to inquire about the details. If, unfortunately, her husband was really dead, she asked him to bring back a piece of his remains. After Lu Zhen left, Lu Bao became even more unscrupulous. He had lost a lot of money gambling in the past few days and had no way to make up for it. By chance, a merchant from Jiangxi had lost his wife and was looking to marry another woman. Lu Bao tried to match his sister-in-law with this merchant. The merchant had also heard that Lu Da's wife was quite attractive and was willing to pay 30 taels of silver. After receiving the money, Lu Bao said to the merchant, "My sister-in-law is a bit stubborn. If you invite her to leave the house in a proper way, she definitely won't agree. Tonight, at dusk, hire a sedan chair and quietly come to my house. Just look for the person wearing a mourning hairpin. That's my sister-in-law. Without saying anything more, help her into the sedan chair and set sail overnight." The merchant followed his plan. When Lu Bao returned home, afraid that his sister-in-law would not comply, he didn't mention a word to her. Instead, he made a gesture to his wife privately and said, "That woman is going to be sold to the merchant from Jiangxi tonight. I'm worried that she'll cry and make a scene, so I'll hide outside first. At dusk, you persuade her to get into the sedan chair. Don't tell her during the day." Lu Bao left, but he didn't explain about the mourning hairpin. In fact, Yang had the best relationship with Wang among the sisters-in-law. She felt compassion in her heart, but for a moment, she had no choice but to listen to her husband. Hesitating to speak, she endured until the period of the hour of 5 to 7 p.m. Finally, she revealed the news to Wang, saying, "My husband has already arranged for you to marry the merchant from Jiangxi. Soon, the merchant will come to take you as his bride. He told me not to say anything. I have a deep affection for you, and I can't bear to hide it from you. If you have any valuable and portable belongings in your room, you should pack them up first and make a bundle, so as to avoid being in a hurry and confusion later." Wang burst into tears and wailed. Yang said, "It's not that I'm trying to persuade you harshly, but a young widow can't stay single forever. The situation is already like a bucket that has fallen into a well. It's all about fate. Crying won't help." Wang said, "What are you talking about, sister-in-law? Although it's said that my husband is dead, I haven't seen it with my own eyes. Let's wait until the third brother comes back. He will surely bring the real news. I'm being forced so hard now." After saying this, she cried again. Yang tried to persuade her from all angles, and finally, Wang stopped crying and said, "Sister-in-law, since you insist that I remarry, it's fine. But how can I go out wearing a mourning hairpin? Sister-in-law, please find a black hairpin for me to change into." Yang wanted to be loyal to her husband's instruction and also to please her sister-in-law. She quickly went to look for a black hairpin to exchange. As fate would have it, not a single old hairpin could be found. Wang said, "You're at home. Temporarily exchange the hairpin on your head with mine. Tomorrow morning, you can ask uncle to get a hairpin from the store to exchange back." Yang said, "Okay." Then she took off her hairpin and handed it to Wang. Wang took off her mourning hairpin and gave it to Yang to wear. Wang also changed into a set of regular clothes. After dusk, the merchant from Jiangxi led the way with lanterns and torches, and they carried an ornate sedan chair. Although there was a band of musicians, they didn't dare to play loudly. They rushed to Lu's house like the wind and rain. Lu Bao had already given them the signal. The crowd pushed open the front door and grabbed the person wearing the mourning hairpin. Yang shouted, "That's not her." But the crowd didn't care. When they grabbed her and put her into the sedan chair, the drummers started playing, and the sedan chair bearers carried the chair away as fast as they could. With the sound of music, they boarded the passenger boat. They mistakenly thought that the person with the mourning hairpin was the destined bride. If the bride were to complain to the groom, she would only blame her heartless husband, not heaven. Wang secretly thanked heaven and earth, closed the door, and went to rest. The next day at dawn, Lu Bao swaggered in and knocked on the door. When he saw that his sister-in-law was the one opening the door, he was shocked. His wife was nowhere to be seen in the room. Seeing that his sister-in-law was wearing a black hairpin, he was greatly suspicious and asked, "Sister-in-law, where has my wife gone?" Wang secretly laughed and replied, "She was carried away by the barbarian merchant from Jiangxi last night." Lu Bao said, "How can that be? And why aren't you wearing the mourning hairpin, sister-in-law?" Wang recounted the reason for exchanging the hairpins. Lu Bao beat his chest and lamented. He had intended to sell his sister-in-law, but unexpectedly, he had sold his own wife instead. The merchant from Jiangxi had already set sail. 30 taels of silver, and he had gambled away more than half of it in just one night. It was impossible for him to marry another wife in this lifetime. He thought again that since he had already gone this far, he might as well go all the way. If he could find another buyer and sell his sister-in-law, he would still have the money to marry another wife. Just as he was about to go out, suddenly, 4 or 5 people rushed in from outside. It was none other than his elder brother Lu Yu, his younger brother Lu Zhen, his nephew 11er, and 2 porters carrying luggage and goods. Feeling ashamed, Lu Bao fled through the back door and disappeared without a trace. Wang welcomed her husband back and was overjoyed to see her son, who had grown up, return home. She asked about the reasons. Lu Yu recounted the whole story from beginning to end. Wang also told the story of how the merchant from Jiangxi had carried away her sister-in-law and how Lu Bao, feeling ashamed, had fled through the back door. Lu Yu said, "If I had been greedy for this 200 tael unexpected wealth, how could I have met my son again? If I had been reluctant to part with those 20 taels of silver and hadn't gone to rescue the people in the capsized boat, how could I have met my brother again? If I hadn't met my brother, how could I have known the situation at home? Today, our husband and wife are reunited, and our whole family is together again. This is all the will of heaven. My unruly younger brother selling his wife is just him reaping what he has sown. The retribution of heaven is truly certain and unmistakable." From then on, he increased his efforts to do good deeds, and his family's fortune grew day by day. Later, 11er married the daughter of the Chen family's lord. Their descendants multiplied, and many of them became high-ranking officials and prominent figures. As the poem says, he originally intended to return the money and unexpectedly reunited with his son. He deliberately tried to sell his sister-in-law but instead lost his own wife. In this world, only the craftsmanship of heaven is ingenious. Good and evil are clearly distinguishable and cannot be deceived.